Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. I don't believe Jarrell Miller. Not for a second. And what am I talking about? Well, he is now claiming that a recent failed drugs test, so this is the third incident in his career, was down to him taking a pill for his Pecker to try put some lead in his pencil. I have to ask the reason why that is needed in the first place for a guy who's only around 30 years old. But that's by the by, because what he is claiming, and this is to the Daily Mail, to Sports Mail, is that he took this pill, and it is called Black Ant Male Sexual Stimulant, and he claims to have taken it 30 or more days before that drug test. So on hearing this, it makes me think a number of things, including that I don't believe him for 1 second. So this was something that he is now also attributing for the GW1516 in his system in 2019. That was a substance he was never able to explain at the time. He was not able to give us an explanation back in July when he failed this test, and now it's September, and all of a sudden we're getting some indications that he is saying it's a Pecker pill to give him some virility and lead in his pencil, as it were, and this is why he has failed the drugs test. And I'll get to some comments in a moment, but my first inkling on this thing was one of cynicism, that Jarrell Miller is just trying to make something fit here to try prove that he's not a cheat, that he's just trying to make something fit the crime as opposed to being able to fess up to it. Because if you remember back in 2019, initially he came out and denied everything, but then later, after more failed tests came out in a span of a few days, said that he'd made some mistakes. But since then, he's tried to walk it all back, saying that a medical procedure was responsible for the EPO and HGH that was in his system. And now saying that the GW1516 from that period, and also from this most recent test, bearing in mind he was meant to face Jerry Forrest in July, but then he was pulled from that fight after a failed drugs test. And he still has a hearing upcoming with the Nevada State Athletic Commission on all this, but a date hasn't been set yet. But it just feels to me like just another excuse here. He wants to prove so hard now that he is clean, but is anyone actually believing him? Is anyone believing this story? Because to me it seems like he's willing to go out and embarrass himself here just to prove that he's not a cheat. And it's taken a number of months now, and more than a year from the first GW1516 test for him to come up with this product, which he said from the first time in 2019, he didn't sort of make the link between Black Ant and the failed test. But now he is saying, and this is the Sports Mail saying, that he's taken the Viagra type pill on several occasions and had not made the connection the first time after testing positive for GW1516 in 2019. And after initially failing the first test, he claims to have asked for a second and third test, which then subsequently found EPO and HGH in his system. And I'm going to cut in there because that is actually massaging the truth, or I'll say it's almost an outright lie, because the further failed test that came out in 2019 was not as a result of him requesting tests. Those tests were already taken in the weeks before the first ones came out. It was the results coming from the VADA testing. Nothing to do with him requesting it. Those results were coming regardless of any request from Miller. And he's really been dancing on the head of a pin since those failed tests did come out, and he has been trying to sort of reimagine history and relitigate what happened to explain away what happened. And it's to the point now of ridiculousness, because he's trying to pull in this new Black Ant male sexual stimulant to put some lead in his pencil, as opposed to just saying and fessing up, look, something was in my system and it shouldn't have been. Because regardless of any truth to his story, which I highly doubt, we have to step back and go, it's a strict liability system. Anything in his system is on him, regardless of how it got into his system. So he may have taken a pill, but if he didn't do his due diligence, well, that's on him. He's the idiot for not doing so. It is on him what he puts in his system. And the same goes for this so-called medical procedure which he took for an elbow injury, as he claims, which had EPO and HGH in it, which to me and others that I've actually sought advice from, people in the performance-enhancing drug testing area, have said that that is highly doubtful that a medical procedure would have that concoction. But that's by the by now, because that's old history. But the point I'm trying to make is, it doesn't matter how it got in his system. Either of the times, plus there was the one back in, 2014 or 2012, whatever it was, this is the third instance now where he has been in trouble with drug testing. He is responsible for what's in his system. It's just as simple as that. But some of these, almost laughable and extremely embarrassing, excuses to explain away this, I just think it's a complete joke. But he is back to his everyone wants to point the finger narrative, saying everyone wants to point the finger, but not everybody has the right information. The levels I failed for in this case now were so minute. And with the EPO, you need to use that for months at a time if you want to get any muscle benefits, not just one shot. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not that person, and we are going to prove everybody wrong. I've spent thousands of dollars of my own money trying to find out what's happened. See, the thing is, none of that matters. It's a strict liability system. If it's in your system, that's on you. Regardless of where you're trying to prove these things came from, they are still in your system. They were found to be in your system. And obviously that has cost him a couple of fights now, one of them worth several $1 million. But for him to say that he's trying to prove everybody wrong, he can't do that, because the test result is the test result. It was in his system. And this whole narrative he's trying to paint, I was asking for the second and third test, I wanted to clear my name. Those VADA tests were coming regardless of whatever he was doing. So he really is trying to finesse the situation and trying to make people believe that he is clean, even though it's a strict liability system. He has already copped that the EPO, HGH, and GW15 were in his system back in 2019, and he's saying that now there was a failed test and there was something in his system. It's kind of case closed to a large extent. How it got in there is almost immaterial. So him trying to, finesse the situation and come up with some of these things and put it down to a Pecker pill, it makes me laugh. But, it is what it is. We can't expect, Miller to actually own up to this and say, look, it shouldn't have been in my system. Because it shouldn't have been. And that's the key takeaway here. He may be trying to explain away how it happened, but it shouldn't have been in his system. And the fact that it was his problem, his fault, he's an idiot. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.